We're joined by your other two co-hosts. You guys can go ahead and set us up.
I'm Carter. I'm excited to be here 3 episodes in and getting some good discussions.
And I am Kyle. Once again, I am also excited to be back. We do have quite a bit to talk about today when it comes to movie news, stuff that we watch. So, let's do it.
Yep, we're finally going to be able to talk Planet of the Apes. But before we get over to that, what's been new with you guys this week? What have you been doing? How'd your interview stuff go? And Kyle, what have you been up to as well?
Yeah, Carter, how have the interviews gone?
It's been pretty good. So, this one place, the car rental place at the airport, texted me this morning. He's like, "Hey, can we set up a training for you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Hey, you should come check out the place." And I was like, "Okay, airport's 10 minutes away, so that's why we're starting this a little late. Head over." And then he calls me. He goes, "Hey, there's an employee that needs a ride to the shuttle. I'll pay you for it." And I was like, "Okay." So I guess I had my unofficial first day today, which is awesome. It's better than not having any first days. So
yeah. This is true. What about you, Kyle? What's been new this week?
For me, it's just chilling, getting outside, getting active now that the weather's getting warmer in Jersey. It's pretty much all that's been cooking.
Sweet. Nothing's really been too new with me. I got a little intoxicated, and by little, I mean very intoxicated last night with a birthday party for my coworkers, or for one of my coworkers. We went to Topgolf, so that was a good time. Other than that, really though, nothing new. Same old, same old.
Nice.
Yeah. So what have you guys been watching this week?
Carter, what have you been watching?
So this week I've been deciding to knock out a bunch of first time watches. So I watched Fight Club for the first time in my life. And
I still haven't watched it.
Yeah, dude, it's a movie that I've been assigned to watch 3 separate times for class, and every time something came up and I just didn't watch it. And so I sat down and watched it with my brother-in-law. And he's 17, 18. And I regretted that choice probably 15 minutes in. I was like, "Uh-oh, this is not." I've never seen the movie before, but I hear what it's about. I was like, I am not responsible for this. But I watched that. That was fun. I guess I watched Phantasm from '79. That was pretty good. And then I've been watching more of The Boys, but the big one I watched was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original from 1974. And
that was your first watch?
Yeah, that was my first time watching it. Yeah, which is weird because I love horror. One of my best friends, he's one of the most disturbing horror movies I've ever seen is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. So I decided to put it on. It was midnight and I was super hungry. So my fat ass was like, "I'm gonna go to Maverick and get a hot dog."
Maverick is a legendary gas station, man.
I went to Maverick, got a hot dog, got a Mountain Dew, sat down. My first bite, the first image of the film is a decomposing body, and I was like, "Oh man!" I didn't pause it or anything because I was like, "It's 12:45. I gotta go to bed." So I just kept eating my hot dog. I didn't even finish it, dude, and the movie just kept going, and it gets grosser and grosser. I had to pause it and go throw up in the bathroom, which has never happened to me before. I've never felt nauseous during a movie. Then I came back and finished it. So that was really, really gross, but it was a first time for me. It was weird.
Yeah. So for me this week, what have I been watching? It's just been a really weird week for me. So we went to Spider Mondays. We saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and we decided to double feature Civil War because the wife had never seen it. She didn't love it as much as I did, which broke my heart, but it'd be like that sometimes. Other than that, really, I've been watching more TV shows than movies. I think that those are the only 2 movies that I logged. I know today I'm going to see The Strangers Part 1, and I'm also probably going to watch it tonight as well. But yeah, no, I started this show called The Veil. It's a limited series on Hulu. It stars Elizabeth Moss, who's extremely talented. So I do recommend that show. And then I've just been watching the Clone Wars show, and I'm knocking out the last little bit of Invincible.
Nice. And for me, it's also been a kind of a week of first watches. I knocked out my first watches for a few pretty legendary movies. I watched Snatch for the first time last night. It's a hilarious movie. I also watched Gladiator for the first time.
You've never seen Gladiator?
No, Gladiator. See, that's how I was with the Fight Club thing. Fight Club's one of the first movies that I watched when I really started getting into movies, and Gladiator was just never the concept of a movie that's really piqued my interest. I'm not really a big action guy, but I finally got around to it. It was good. Like I said, not really my cup of tea, but I watched my first Charlie Chaplin movie. I watched City Lights.
Okay, what'd you think about that?
It's just one of those movies that, I mean, it's really tough to put a rating on it for me because, once again, it's a movie that really isn't my thing. I wouldn't say I really am into silent films like that, but you can't deny how legendary it is, the impact that it's had. It was one of the movies that pretty much started everything. And finally, I watched for the first time Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes last weekend. A couple movies in between there, but nothing really to highlight. But Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, my first watch, I thought it was good. But what do you say we get into a spoiler discussion of it?
Absolutely. Spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen it, we'll put a time code in the description and just skip to that time because we are going to spoil the movie in
we'll
several
give
places
an alert
now.
This time rather than just going straight into it like challengers.
Hey, we've learned.
All right. So Kyle, since it's the freshest on your mind, tell us what you thought.
I mean, just to start saying the basic stuff, I guess it's just a great entry to the new batch of movies. I mean, it's just, I feel like in everybody's opinion, almost it should be their most visually phenomenal movie of the entire franchise. I think the visuals are by far the best part of it. And that's not a bad thing because, I mean, without the visuals, it's still a good movie. And, yeah, I mean, I think at points it does slow down a little and they could have gotten to things a little faster than they did. But I really feel like it's necessary. I feel like it was necessary and it allowed to see some, like I said, visually phenomenal parts. And that's kind of just the basics of it, I'd say. But I don't know what you guys think. If you thought it was like slow at points, if you thought, it being slow helped it or whatnot, it was necessary.
I did definitely think that there were parts that were slow. I also don't know if I believe that it needed to be as long as it was.
Mm-hmm.
The movie felt fucking long. So I would say that was one of my biggest qualms with it. I also think that they better bring Rocka back for the next movie because there's no way that he should have just been dead.
Yep.
That
Especially
should not.
when he's on the poster. Like, I feel like they wouldn't just put him on the poster and 20 minutes after you see him, you're like, all right, bye, buddy.
Yeah, like
see me again.
It was. I did not like that decision. I also did not like May very much at all. I think that the way her character was written, and if she's supposed to be like the James Franco of the new trilogy, then I think that they may have pursued it a little wrong. But like I agree. I think cinematically the movie was absolutely gorgeous. The CGI was so good. There were some plot holes and there were some things they put in the plot that I just wasn't the biggest fan of, for sure.
Yeah. And I think, like, sorry to cut you off, Carter, but I was just gonna add on to the point of May being kind of the new James Franco character, and kind of just talk for a second about how this movie sets up something else. Like movies, there's going to be a couple more movies coming after it, but I think my thing with it is like I don't know, like the future is there, but it's just like a little fuzzy to me. Like I don't know if it seems like I'm not a fan of before a movie is even announced saying I don't know if that movie's going to be good, but looking at the future, I'm like, I don't know if a next movie is going to be good. Like, I don't know how they're going to go about it. If they go about it in the correct way, I would say trying to tie it into the older Planet of the Apes movies, I think that would work great. But if they don't go about it in that way, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carl.
Say something.
I was just agreeing.
So yeah, I definitely like see both your points. I think I'm more not in the middle. The more I think about it, the more I really I really enjoyed that movie. And I agree with you, Kyle, like to an extent to where like the future is fuzzy, but also I've done a little bit of research on the Planet of the Apes, and you know way more than me. So if I say anything wrong, just tell me. But what it seemed like to me after rewatching Rise, Dawn, and War, I think it's in Rise that they say that shuttle goes to Mars with the astronauts, and in the original Planet of the Apes, it's about astronauts like coming to Earth. Yeah. And so what it looked like to me, especially with the focus on that telescope, it seems like the next movie is kind of going to be like the astronauts coming to Earth and finding, like, I think it's going to be like the escalation of the humans versus the apes. Because something that kind of not bothered me, something that stuck out to me in the movie was just like how selfish May was and how her character arc was like the opposite of Noah. Noah was learning to kind of love the humans more like Raka and like understand them, and then May was just using everything for humanity's gain. And that's something that kind of, I think it could have been set up a little better and expanded on a little better. But I think going forward, that's something I would be really interested in seeing, is like Noah being the new like leader of the apes and May being like the new leader of the humans, and they can have like a Professor X Magneto type friendship rivalry, probably culminating over the astronauts returning, something like that.
Yeah, I think with May, I don't know what I was expecting, but I really don't think I was expecting her to kind of be out on this search to bring these humans out of the tunnels they've been hiding in or whatnot. Like, I really did think she was just going to be like kind of an evolved part of the human species in this movie. I really wasn't expecting her to be a literal human that knows everything and is just out to bring her people back. But I mean, when it got to that and we found that out, I can't say I was really like disappointed or whatnot, but I was like, that's kind of where I got to the point of like, okay, now like future movies just became like a little interesting in how they're going to be done. Like, are they going to enter another war or whatnot? Are they going to try to work together to maybe send the humans somewhere else so that they can repopulate and have a new planet of their own or whatever? It's just weird, but it's exciting, the future. It really is, but just interesting, really.
Agreed.
Is the word I keep going back to.
I definitely do agree with that. I think that the next movies will be interesting. I can't say that I am that I have any sort of like predilection as to what the next movies will be about at all, though. Like, this isn't one of those movies where you can like anticipate exactly what the next one's going to be, because there are so many options for what they could plan on doing, and I'm really excited to just see kind of what that looks like.
Yeah, and with because like you said, you really can't predict at all. And even when Because I don't know if I'm sure they don't want that. They really don't. I'm sure they don't want people to be like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen in the next movie. But then they give you the scene at the end where it's like they make contact with the humans, and I'm like, okay, so things may have just gotten a little more complicated. Like that may just be an extra plot line for the next movie. But I'm really hoping they do. Everything ties in. That's the one wish for everything, is that everything ties in, and I'm sure they won't leave anything untouched. They really haven't yet in any of the movies, but yeah, I mean that's kind of all I have for the future of the franchise. Like I said, the future's there.
Yeah.
It's just going to be weird. That's it.
Yeah, I see that. I think it's because it's Planet of the Apes. Like, I'm excited, and I actually like the ending. Like the last 3 minutes got me like really excited to see what they're doing next. Because, I mean, going into Kingdom, I had zero clue what it was about. I like honestly, I think that's like the most blind I've got into in a movie in a long time. Like somehow just hadn't seen extended trailers. I had no idea like who Raka was. I mean, I knew he was in the trailer, but I didn't even know that May could talk. I thought she was mute, like Nova in War.
Yeah.
And so when everything is revealed and it kind of expands on that in the last like act of the film, I was really surprised, and it actually was like really interesting. However, I think that going back to an issue that I kind of talked about last week is that when they get to Proximus's kingdom, a lot of the steam and like urgency kind of gets taken away.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
I think one of my wishes and what I have here is that I just wish there was so much more of Proximus. Like I wish we got to see way more than we got. And we didn't, it wasn't like a short amount of time that we got, but like he was honestly probably the best part of every scene that he was in, really.
Yeah.
I agree.
He was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Especially with that scene where they're in the where he calls Noah into the room, and it's May and whatever his name is, William H. Macy's character.
Yeah.
But, they're sitting at the table, and it's like he seems like so calm and like such a not a good ape, you could say, but like he's like, okay, this is my vision, and we're all gonna be friends. I'm not better than all of you, and then he's standing up, controlling every single ape, twisting Caesar's words or whatnot. Mm-hmm. I think that was a very interesting part too, and something I didn't expect is how Caesar to them is like this. They twisted his words into making him sound like a tyrannical, like he eliminated every human from the face of the earth, type of thing. And I really like that. I like how they kind of acknowledged that. I guess in like today's world too that we live in, how quickly words can be twisted, and I just thought that was a great move and something I wasn't expecting.
I definitely think it sticks to the history of how often certain people that are seen as greater or legendary in some manner, how different people will perceive exactly what they were teaching.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, I mean, you have Rocca's version of Caesar, and then you have Proximus's version of Caesar, and they're two different people almost. And so it's kind of cool to see that they're bringing in exactly what happens in real life and putting it into the apes as well.
And that's why I need more of Rocca. Like Rocca was just like so refreshing when they get to the airport. That part had me laughing my ass off there.
He was so funny.
And he's like, awesome. He's like talking about how the airport is a place that apes built for humans to feel safe.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, like I touched on last week, I think I may have said more than I should have, but the two characters that I mentioned weren't in the movie that much that I wanted them to be in more was Rocca and Proximus. Because, I mean, by nature, when the film is like so focused on Caesar's legacy and like how his words can be twisted, and for me, it's really cool to see like this is what happens, like you guys mentioned, in today's world with like religious figures, with historical figures. Someone 2,000 years ago can say like this is wrong, and then people nowadays will take it in like an extremist way. And I loved how they did that with Rocca and Proximus and Caesar. That's why I wish that there was more of them. Like, as I liked Noah and I liked May, but I wish that they kind of took more of a backseat in the second half, and the second half had more focus on Rocca and Proximus and their view of Caesar and how that could clash, because it was like so interesting to me, and I loved what they did with that. Like, Caesar's like apes together strong, and Proximus thinks that means he has to like gather every ape into this kingdom that he rules over.
And I gotta say, I think my favorite ape in the entire movie was what's his name, Anaya.
Yeah,
I loved Anaya. That's probably
he was so much fun.
One of the more human versions of a character in that franchise. I think like it was my favorite part was when they were about to start the like heist or whatnot to get inside of the shelter, and he like walks out. He's like, "You can't climb there." And they're like, "Why?" He's like, "You can't climb without Anaya."
Yeah,
I just love that part. He's just more one of my review on Letterboxd, a simple review, because I don't put much thought into what I say, was just that the characters in the franchise are just so lovable.
Yeah,
like they make it so easy to like the characters and want more of them. Like, because a lot of the best villains in movie history have only had 5 minutes of screen time, 10 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people would say, like, with how much screen time a lot of villains get, what Proximus had was enough. But like it was just so easy to look at him as an awesome villain that you just wanted more and more.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I thought Kevin Durant did great.
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue that Kingdom has, like, I think in my mind the biggest issue, it's not even its own fault, but it's that it's in the same franchise as like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. Like, Dawn is like incredible. Every time I rewatch that movie, I'm like, everyone in this movie is just putting their whole effort and like life into this movie. Like Toby Kebbell as Koba, so cool and like so interesting in his worldview. And so, like, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh yeah, Kingdom is great. I love Kingdom, but like Dawn exists.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, making sure I don't have that bias against it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that being said, though, I really like the movie. I think the more I think about it, the more I reflect on it, the more I do enjoy it. But that being said, what I love about it, I think is so cool. But what is like, oh, I'm not super thrilled about that, holds it back quite a bit. Like big issues like the pacing, or I think just like maybe the last half of the film just kind of runs out of gas a little too quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd probably say for me it's the fourth best, I'd say, for me, because I'd have Dawn, War, and then actually no, I can't really. I'd have 1968 at 1, and then I'd have Dawn, War, and then Kingdom. And I mean, I feel like that's not a bad thing at all, being the fourth best movie, especially when like the franchise is just so deep.
So good. Yeah.
I don't know where you guys would have. Where would you put it?
I know where I'd put it.
I think I'd probably put it at 3. I would go Dawn, War, Kingdom, Rise.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I've never seen 1968.
I haven't either, and I know I need to watch it.
Yes, I know I need to watch it.
Yeah, I just feel like 1968, because I think it would be easy to say for 1968, like, the apes are just people in ape costumes. But I don't know. I look at it as like more than that. Like I feel like I don't know if I'd say it's ahead of its time, but I mean it's just good. It's just a good movie. One of the best plot twists in movie history. Just one of those damn good movies. That's how I'd put it.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to get
that's
on
how
watching it.
That's how Dawn and War are too. They're just good movies.
I agree.
I kind of like go back and forth with Dawn and War. Like I on one hand, I feel like War is like it's such a good conclusion to Caesar's character and just the trilogy as a whole. But like the way I put it with Dawn is like Dawn isn't just a good Planet of the Apes movie. It's just a good movie.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's what would separate it from the rest of the trilogy for me.
Agreed. I like a lot of times with blockbusters, some blockbusters, the thing that you remember is like, oh, I remember that crazy stunt like Fast and the Furious 7 when they drive through all 3 towers in Dubai.
Yeah.
But with like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, you remember like yeah, I remember how interesting the dynamic between Caesar and Koba is. I remember how evil Koba is and like how understanding you are. And that's in the same movie where Koba rides a horse, dual wielding machine guns, fighting a tank. Like,
yeah,
that's a tall order to try and like find those things to compare it to. But yeah, I agree. Like when there's such interesting scale and spectacle going on, and the thing that you focus on is like the character dynamics. That's when like you have like a genuine classic, in my opinion.
Because like you start with Rise, and Rise is just it's just that good setup, and then like Dawn and War just so dark, and you really truly see the humans fading out, and the apes taking over, and it is so good.
I think I'm really excited to see what the next movies for the new trilogy are. No matter whether I sounded like a hater in my initial review or not, I promise I don't hate the movie. I think the movie is good. I think the movie is really good, but I only think the movie is good.
Yeah. I have it at 4 stars right now.
I gave it a 3.5.
Yeah, I might drop it to 3.5, but I feel like the movie itself, the story, the characters, all of that would put it at a 3.5, and I just feel like the visuals are just what gives it that extra half star for me.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat with the climbing scene where they're taking the eggs. Like I thought that was visually like the perfect start. Because you see what the world has become. Everything is just covered in green now. It's truly like the kingdom of the apes.
Yeah,
it's their world, and I feel like that was just the best thing that they could have started with was setting the tone and seeing the village that they live in.
Yeah, agreed. I think like technically it's incredible. Like everything you see is like jaw dropping, just how good it looks, how good like just even like the smallest details can look. And then add that to like the world building that it does. There's like different clans, the humans are like wiped out, but some of them are living underground. Just stuff that it does so well. I'm like, yeah, this is like a 3.5, like 4. I think I probably would go like, if I had a rating between 3.5 and 4, I'd go there, like 7.5, kind of.
Yeah,
I'd sit with there because it is really good, and that's the problem with like sometimes reviewing like movies like these. The complaints that you have are like, yeah, the pacing wasn't great, or like I wish I had more of this character, and for some movies that could completely tank the review, but for something like this, like it's just really good. Like it's just brings it down a little bit. I can look past it.
Absolutely.
And I think West Ball like doing the live action Zelda movie. Yeah, and I feel like since this movie is so technically phenomenal, I kind of it doesn't really sound like the most interesting concept for a live action movie for me, but I feel like just because of how this one looks, it'll be worth checking out.
Yeah.
I feel like at worst it'll be like an average movie, which I feel like for a live action Zelda movie is probably expected.
Yeah.
Like it may be average, but it will not look average.
Yeah.
No, it'll look really good.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I mean, hey, if he wants to shoot on location as much as you want.
Yeah.
Like, please. We need more of that.
Yeah, but I feel like that's all we have for Planet of the Apes, probably.
Yeah, I feel like that was a really good segue into movie news.
Yeah. Which how do we want to get started with movie news?
You're the movie news guy.
Right.
You're the guy for movie news.
I got something.
I feel like the big one from the last like 24 hours or whatnot is probably Happy Gilmore 2 being announced, which I think is...
They've been teasing it for a while. They've been like talking about it.
I really don't know how I feel about that at all. Obviously, Happy Gilmore, the first one, is a classic. That movie is
such
so
a great
funny.
movie.
It's so good. Yeah. But like 2, I mean, maybe it'll be good. I'll still watch it. It's Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Even if Adam Sandler, which he has made the worst movie of all time, Jack and Jill, but
yep.
But it's Adam Sandler, so I'll still be watching it. I mean, least it could have is 1 or 2 laughs.
Yeah, I still need to watch his Spaceman movie.
Me too.
Oh yeah, I turned that movie on and I watched like an hour of it, and I was like, okay, yeah, Adam, this isn't it, pal.
That's how I felt about a lot of movies recently. Like I watched Unfrosted and Mother of the Bride, and both times I was like, I'm suffering through this.
Yeah, dude, I've seen a couple of videos for Unfrosted, and it just looks so unfunny and terrible that it's like,
bad.
Okay, yeah, I'm not turning this movie on because I know I will physically get sick watching this. I
felt ill. It was awful.
But,
all right, Carter, you said you had some news.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like adding on to Happy Gilmore 2, and I'll share my news. I am not Adam Sandler's biggest fan. I was made fun of in junior high because I was Adam Sandler's #1 hater. I love Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore is so funny. And I think Click, it's not very funny, but it's really good. Uncut Gems is incredible. But like you have the 2000s Adam Sandler comedies that I just think are for the most part painfully unfunny. And that's always been like my hot take. I don't like Adam Sandler. But when he's good, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
have you seen Hustle?
It's on my list to watch.
Hustle is a phenomenal movie. It's so good. I'm about to like spend money. I like Hustle so much that because it was a Netflix original, they didn't release it on physical. And I'm going to figure out a way to get that fucking movie on physical because I like it that much. Like Hustle is a really good movie. Yeah. But I also am like Queen Latifah's biggest fan, so I'll watch anything she's in, which is the only reason I watched it.
Okay.
And then it just turned out to be good.
Hey, dude, blessing in disguise. That's to say, the movie news I had actually has to do with Planet of the Apes. They said they're doing 9 Planet of the Apes. So I think that means they're doing 2 more and then 3 more, right? So I'm like, I'm interested. I think finishing out Kingdom with a trilogy could be interesting.
Yeah, I would say the best bar to set would be, finishing out that trilogy, and then we see where things are, and then we confirm another trilogy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like we talked about, this was a good start, but like 9 more movies.
Yeah.
I
mean, like, it's Planet of the Apes. So I'll be there no matter what.
I'll be seated.
but
if some of them wind up being some of the worst movies ever made, I would be like, okay, maybe I saw this coming 15 years ago when they announced that the 7th one was going to be getting made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that adds just to a quick little right here. A big issue with studios nowadays is they announce trilogies instead of like, hey, we're gonna try this out. It's like the Blumhouse thing, like, hey, we're gonna do 3 Halloween movies. Like, you only needed one. I mean, I don't mind kills and ends. I'll still watch them, but like, we only really needed one. And then Exorcist Believer, we do not need 3 of those. We don't need.
It was so Exorcist Believer was so bad, and they're releasing what the Strangers movies. Like, there's this one, and then they're doing another one that's gonna release in the fall, and then another one that's supposed to release beginning of 2025. And I was just like, why do we need that?
And that's why I think like TV shows are like the perfect format for announcing new work. Is you know, in some situations you get maybe season 1 has been out for 5 or 6 days. You see how it's performing. Okay, season 2. We get it out as fast as we can. But whereas movies, it's like, okay, so we have this good sci-fi movie. It's doing some numbers. The people like it. Let's make 4 more of them.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's make 1 more, and then we'll think about a 3rd, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
a little tangent. Moving.
Oh, no worries. So we'll do this one. So Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan are working on I Am Legend 2. That is probably the least needed thing that I can think of ever, actually. And I'm and don't get me wrong, I'm not like an I Am Legend hater. I actually really enjoy that movie, but I don't think it needs a second one. There are a lot of films that I think just don't need more. Like, I really liked the Bad Boys series. I don't need Ride or Die. I don't.
Yeah, no,
I'm not excited to see it. I'm watching the trailers and I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. Like, the Legacy sequels, I'm having a good time with, right? So, like, Alien, Romulus, good time with it, right? Or, like, Legacy sequels, cool. Twisters, for instance. Fine, let's do it, right? But this isn't even technically a Legacy sequel. This is just, what? How many years ago did I Am Legend come out?
Came out in 2008.
Yeah, so like it's just delayed, and I don't really need it.
Yeah,
it's just one of those cash grabs, and it might not even make that much.
Might not.
That is trying to grab.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna. If you were gonna add on, you can go. So I was gonna jump to something else just quickly, but go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, spoilers for I Am Legend. How are you gonna do the second one? Like,
good question.
I mean, I know they're gonna go with the DVD ending, but the majority of people watch the ending where Will Smith pulls the pin on the grenade and slide tackles the dude. So, like, okay, now what? Are you gonna be like, oh, he's alive, he's just horribly burned? Just drop it. Let's find something else to do.
But what I was gonna jump to real quick was Furiosa getting a standing ovation. It premiered at Cannes, and people seem to love it. I mean,
I'm so excited. Next week,
I had
so ready.
No doubts at all. It's just one of those movies that you knew when it got announced. There was no way it was gonna do anything less than be an amazing, legendary action movie. But it seems like it might be more than that.
Yeah, but have y'all seen that they're talking about how bad it was to record it? Like, they said filming was awful, and that's like been news for a lot of stuff because people were also releasing articles about Francis Ford Coppola and how bad he is to work with on Megalopolis as well. So it's just kind of one of those things where you're like, what? Like, what's going on? Why so bad?
The least interesting amount of news from Megalopolis was that Francis Ford Coppola sat in his trailer and like got high for like
any of us cared. Like, I don't care. Let the man smoke.
You have the part of him just like pulling random extras over and being an absolute weirdo.
Yeah,
kissing him on the cheek to get him in the mood for the club scene and stuff. Like, what?
Mood. Like,
you're 82, man. No one wants to get in the mood with you.
Nothing gets me going like an 82-year-old guy pulling me over and just planting
giving me a smooch. Like, I don't want.
Sounds like on par because, you know, the stuff that you hear about Francis Ford Coppola, especially like just how hard he is apparently to work with. The main part of that coming from Apocalypse Now, like it seems like Apocalypse Now, just when you read about it and hear about it, just sounds like those motherfuckers were actually going through the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
that literally is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, like when you like not funny, but it's kind of interesting to hear how many directors actually fucking suck to work with.
Oh yeah, no, I agree because it's crazy. Like you see some of these older directors, like they're so. I'm trying to find the way to put this. Like Francis Ford Coppola, and I mean, we were just talking about George Miller, Furiosa. I mean, I haven't read anything about George Miller just grabbing extras and taking them away for fun. But I mean, you read about like how he's just very meticulous. Like, yeah, we're filming in Australia in the desert, and like Charlize Theron, you're gonna get in and out of this car like 30 times, and I'm gonna film it.
Yeah.
I
feel like it's kind of like that old man style almost.
Yes.
Like that, like they have no filter. You're gonna do what I say. I'm the director, and that's like one of kind of off point a little, but like Quentin Tarantino is a guy that like I remember he was asked about how do you feel about people improvising, like if they forget a line or whatnot, and he says something like, I don't like it because it's my script.
Yeah,
they're reading my fucking script when they're out there, and they're gonna follow what I say. I think it's just kind of like that old man, like take no shit. You're gonna follow what I say type of directing style.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you're seeing that, like I said, less and less because of the newer wave of people, the newer filmmakers that are coming in or whatnot are probably a lot easier to work with. But I don't know. Who knows how much more we'll get from Francis Ford Coppola at 85 years old now that he's kissing extras and stuff.
Yeah,
I can't see we'll get a whole lot more from him.
Yeah, but TV show news. Real quick, we've got a couple of different TV show newses. So the first trailer for Dune, what is it? Dune Messiah, I want to say? No. Dune Prophecy. Dune Prophecy. Yeah. So the first trailer for Dune Prophecy dropped. I have not seen it yet. I will be seeing it soon.
I haven't watched it.
Maybe we can do an episode this week, do a little screen share, just a quick 10, 15-minute episode, watch the trailer, talk about it, and then post it up just as a filler during the week. But yeah, that released, and then Shogun actually got renewed for seasons 2 and 3. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we've got what the boys releasing.
Talking about with how many, movies are confirmed right after. I guess Shogun isn't taking the normal route of just being like, okay, we'll do.
Shogun is very, very popular though.
Yeah, I watched episode 1 and 2, and I was like, holy, like I'm gonna need to really put some time aside to actually sit down and watch the full show, because it's just it was so good the first 2 episodes that I don't want to just have it be a TV show that I just throw on, just watch on the side. I really want to put some time aside to make sure I pay attention.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't seen it yet, Shogun, but I do need to watch it. I hear it's incredible.
Yeah, I also need to watch it.
Yeah, just from the first 2 episodes alone, you could just tell the set pieces are so good. It looks completely 1600s or whenever the hell it takes place, 1400s. Maybe I'm just getting my time wrong over here, but it looks accurate to the time that it takes place in.
But that's all of the news I have, unless either one of you have anything different.
Yeah, that's about all I have.
That's all I got.
All right, sweet. Sweet, sweet. Kyle, we know you got to go, so we'll go ahead and close out this episode, 45 minutes.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. So thanks for watching this episode of the Big Screen Banner podcast. We'll be back next week. We will hopefully have a filler episode from the Dune Prophecy trailer for you guys to enjoy as well. And you guys can just go ahead and close out.
Sweet. Kyle, you want to do it?
All right. Yeah. Another solid week. We knocked out the Planet of the Apes spoilers. So now, next time we'll talk about Planet of the Apes is when they get to cooking on what one of the next 750 movies will be about. That's the next time you'll hear about that. But yeah, good episode. Just another solid entry. We'll be back.
Thanks for hanging out.